The other day, I had an entrepreneur come to my house with $2,000 in cash to give me. The reason why is a few months earlier, I was at an event, and every time I go to an event, I always try to do this. I try to collect about 4 or 5 entrepreneurs that I met. Either they asked me questions after I gave a talk, or they came up to me in the alleyway or in the conference in the hallway and wanted to ask me a question. And if I feel like they have good energy and they're just good people in general, I always invite them to lunch. And I was having lunch with 5 entrepreneurs. We were talking about different parts of their business, what they were passionate about, and how they were doing in general. And this one entrepreneur, David, was telling me about his business. He had an online toothbrush subscription company. Now, I had invested in a company called Manpack, so he was all interested in, Manpack is this company where you can auto order your underwear, your shaving gear, everything. I mean, it's a really cool, check it out, manpacks.com. Obviously, that's a plug. I'm an investor, whatever. Anyways, David's asking me about it because he had a business that was similar for toothbrushes. And he's telling me about the challenges and asking me about my feedback. And I said, David, there's probably one reason you haven't achieved this yet. And he's like, oh, and he's all ears. He's like listening. I said, the number one is you haven't decided. You haven't decided what your goal is for this month, this quarter, this year. And from that point of view, as you work backwards, you haven't decided. And he's like, oh, yeah, well, I do have goals. I'm like, you might have a yearly goal, but you don't have a monthly goal, and you haven't broken that monthly goal down into weekly goals, right? And I don't mean to say that to be, confrontational, but that would change it all. And I said, why don't we do this thing? For years, I've been doing this thing called the Martell bet. If you haven't heard it, I wrote about it on my blog, but the Martell bet is where when I meet entrepreneurs at an event or a conference, and they're excited about their business, and they're telling me about what they're going to achieve, etc. And I just feel like they just need a little bit more guidance. I'll make a bet with them. And every time I bet, I hope to lose. So don't get me wrong. So I made a bet with David. I said, hey, let's pick a number in 3 months. What do you think you could achieve from a monthly? His business was a SaaS business subscription. So what could you achieve? How many subscribers do you think you could achieve? And he gave me a number. I said, perfect. How much do you want to bet? You want to bet $100, $500, whatever. He's like, $5,000. I was like, whoa. Dude, I mean, you're not making any money. I don't even know, you're 19, 20 years old. I don't want to take your money. I was like, okay, how about $1,000, right? Are you cool with it? He's like, yes, $1,000. I'm like, all right, because if you lose, that means, that's a lot of money. He's like, yeah, $1,000. I said, you can't put it on your line of credit. Yes, no problem, $1,000. Perfect. So I open up my calendar, I set the terms of the deal there, I invite him to the calendar, and then I, expecting to lose, actually transfer via PayPal my $1,000 loss. I said, look, I'm going to give you the money now. Do what you want with it. You can put it in your bank and hold on to it. You can spend it, whatever. But I want you to know that I hope to lose this bet. So here's my money, hope to lose the bet. And in 3 months, we're going to get a reminder, and I expect to get an email from you. And if they lose, here's the deal. They have to pay me. I always take the money. 2, I get to write a blog post about it or a video and tell the whole world about it. And then 3, I always say, look, if you lose, I'm going to be helpful, whatever it is. And I do these bets for 3 main reasons. 1, I feel like it holds people accountable. If you think about it in your business, people joke that you have your customers that hold you accountable, you have your team or whatever, but the truth is you don't, right? There's nobody that's saying, okay, what are your goals for the week, the quarter, the month, etc. That doesn't usually happen. And I do these things to just get people excited. Sometimes people are just excited to have me involved in their business. So we set a goal to hold them accountable. The second thing is actually teaches them how to set goals. It still blows my mind in 2014 that people in business still haven't set, okay, what is a goal? It's not about having more subscribers. It's saying I'm going to have X amount of subscribers. And it's more than that. It's saying by this date. And then even further than that, it's with these profit margins. Because if you have to spend $10 to get $1, you're not building a business. So helping people define what's called SMART goals is another thing that they achieve. They hold the accountability. They got the SMART goals. And the third thing is I feel like it gives them a sense of stretching themselves, of learning how to decide to do things that are exciting, that are kind of crazy. I don't know if I could accomplish it, but if I did, wow, that would be amazing, right? So it's kind of like, it's not a layup. It's not like knock it out of the park goal. It's kind of a stretch goal. And I feel like people don't kind of ask themselves, is there more I could be doing? Could I grow further? Could I push further? Could my goals be, Apple's known for this, where they set their goals and then they have stretch goals. And the stretch goals is where I believe their managers get compensated on it. So I made this bet with Dave. And unfortunately, 3 months later, he shows up to my door with $2,000 in cold hard cash. Cash, dollar bills, money. And I invited him over to my house for lunch because obviously I was a little disappointed that I won the bet, which sounds nuts, but I wanted to make sure I was helpful as I committed to him earlier. And here's what the neat part was, is, he wanted to come and give me the money. Even though he lived 3 hours away from where I live, he wanted to drive, have lunch with me, give me the money in person, because it turns out that in going through this process and really working hard to hit this goal, he realized that his business wasn't that exciting, that the numbers would never really work the way he envisioned it, and a lot of other challenges with the business. Not that it was a bad business, it just was challenging, and he wasn't really something he wanted to do. But in going through that process in the previous 3 months, he ended up finding an acquirer in Silicon Valley, and that company ended up buying his company, and he's now moved from Eastern Canada to Silicon Valley to join a startup. And he was excited, elated, like it was just the most amazing thing that he was excited to come in person to tell me that story. I can't tell you the amount of people, I've made probably 20 of these bets over the years. Guys have either knocked it out of the park and told me it was the best thing they'd ever done. Another friend of mine, Sam, he ended up shutting down the business. It didn't work, but he quickly moved on to his next one. It's called Make Space. It is an amazing idea. Sam, you, dude, are an amazing entrepreneur, and I hate winning, but I'm so pumped to see what you're working on now. And that is, that and many other stories are the outputs of why I bet on entrepreneurs and I hope to lose. It's just an idea. Maybe when you're meeting with somebody in the future, you can decide to make a bet with them. And it's not it's just saying, hey, do you want to make a bet? It's not about like, I think you're overinflated in your ideas, whatever. I don't know. I thought it was a neat idea, and I'll continue to do it. We usually do one per event that I'm speaking at. And I just thought it was a neat idea. I'm obviously super passionate in other people's success as a business, and I want to challenge you to really stack up your game for your business growth and think about how can you set goals that stretch and really move things forward. So with that, I hope you have an amazing day and you live an extraordinary life. All the best.